promoting dialogue. WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar and 7 o'clock in Abuja. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. The trial of Guinean opposition Aliyu Ba continues as reactions trail an extension of the military transition period to 2025.
The contract between the CNRD and the people of Guinea expires on December 30, 2024. It's already eroded legitimacy and is now obsolete. We will no longer recognize any legitimacy to the CNRD.
Here in Senegal, Jomai Fads calls to rationalize the existence of political parties sparks reaction from political and civil society actors. Over 100 shops at Ghana's biggest second-hand clothing market destroyed by fire.
More than 10 machines has been burnt inside. More than 10, knitting, double, overlock, embroidery, series of them like that.
And Togolese opposition frowned at the adoption of the draft constitution by President Nyasengbe's government. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and thanks to our listeners within and across the sub-region. This edition begins in the Republic of Guinea, where the triad of opposition Aliyu Ba continues this Thursday at the Kalom Court of First Instance. The prosecutor is requesting a 2-year prison sentence for the leader of the Liberal Democratic Movement. Aliyu Ba is accused of making remarks deemed offensive against the transitional president, General Mamadi Doumbouya, during the General Assembly of his political party. He was placed in custody last Monday after being placed in a police cell at the Judicial Investigations Division of the National Gendarmerie. His arrest has provoked a strong indignation within civil society's groups in the country. Meanwhile, reactions continuing to pour in following the national address by Guinean transitional president General Mamadi Doumbouya, who announced an extension of the transitional period, which was scheduled to end by December 31, 2024. This shift in the electoral calendar has divided the Guinean political class. Abdullahi Hassan has the details in this report filed by our Conakry correspondent Ibrahim Anbade.
According to General Doumbouya, the transitional period, which was scheduled to end on December 31, 2024, will now continue until 2025. Transitional President Doumbouya also promises a constitutional referendum and general elections in 2025. However, for the leader of the Guinean opposition, Cellou Dalein Diallo, there is no question of letting the military continue to run the country.
The contract between the CNRD and the people of Guinea expires on December 30, 2024. It's already eroded legitimacy and is now obsolete. I declare here, with the greatest firmness, we will no longer recognize any legitimacy to the CNRD, the military agents, having not respected any of the commitments made before the people of Guinea and the international community. It is more vital than ever that we collectively take our responsibilities to put a definite end to this military transition.
Meanwhile, supporters of the military believe that extending the transition is more necessary than ever. Former Minister and President of the FND party, Al-Husseini Makenera Kaki, calls on Guineans to adhere to the promises of General Mamadi Doumbouya.
Man proposes and disposes. The CNRD wanted the elections to take place in 2024 at least. However, reality imposed itself on them. They were unable to achieve it. But what is important is that we have seen all the political will through this speech to organize these elections as soon as possible, and I'm certain that in 2025 the elections will take place.
At the moment, the Guinean opposition is planning demonstrations starting on January 6 in Conakry, the nation's capital, to demand the departure of the junta and establishment of a civilian transition.
Abdullahi Hassan voiced that report filed by our Conakry correspondent Ibrahim Mbalde. The constitutional change in Togo will make the country a true democracy by 2025. That's according to President Faure Gnassingbé. The Togolese head of state welcomed the adoption of the draft constitution that will move the country from a presidential regime to a parliamentary regime. The document states that the President of the Republic will now be elected by the National Assembly for a term of 4 years. However, the opposition, which does not agree with this text, also reacted to President Faure Gnassingbé's address to the nation. Bridget Jamango Johnson is a member of the National Assembly and also coordinator of the opposition platform Danemark de la Majorité du Peuple.
Ce serait véritablement un recul de la démocratie.
It would truly be a step backwards for democracy if Mr. Gnassingbé, who dreams of staying in power indefinitely by being appointed as President of the Council of Ministers and strongman of the parliamentary regime that they are trying to impose, it would truly be a step backwards for democracy, and we will not accept that. The proof is that Parliament has been functioning for a year, and soon there is only the United Parliamentary Group, the only one that exists that really speaks out to give voting conclusions. It is ridiculous to make the whole world believe that Togo is moving towards democracy. We believe that we are heading towards great turbulence in 2025. The Togolese do not adhere to these points of installation in the institutions of the Fifth Republic that have no choice.
Madam Bridget Ajamago Johnson is a member of the Togolese National Assembly.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Now here in Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's year-end speech has received wide acknowledgement from the population, with many government promises and policies in the coming days. Among them, it's improving the cost of living, addressing the health and educational deficits, as well as ensuring energy sovereignty. On the political front, the head of state is advocating for the rationalization of political parties, as the country has nearly 400, which he believes hinders democratic process. He calls for future discussions with all political actors on this issue, with civil society and political parties supporting the initiative and already presenting their demands. Christopher Aticho has more in this report.
According to Babakar Ba, president of the Forum du Justiciable, a civil society organization rationalizing political parties, will facilitate future elections in the country.
If today the President of the Republic tells us that we are moving towards the rationalization of political parties, we must acknowledge it. Currently, we have an excessive number of political parties. As seen in the last legislative elections, 41% of the list were rejected. In Senegal, we have over 400 political parties, many of which exist only in name and do not even have a headquarters. This situation hinders democratic progress. Therefore, rationalizing political parties will provide much clearer visibility regarding the democratic process.
Gum Sabab, the political movement of opposition leader Bogan Gaydani, agrees. The group also believes that the issue of political party financing should be included in the discussions. Babaka Justin Meng is the communications officer.
The formation of a political party must meet several criteria to be recognized as such, as an entity seeking to gain power. Beyond rationalization, the President of the Republic has emphasized transparency. Today, we need to know who finances political parties and how they manage their operations. Are these political parties simply trying to position themselves within the political system? Therefore, the president must follow through, starting with his own party. We've heard about Kapor Express. Where did this money come from? Who financed them? Thus, in addition to rationalizing political parties, there must be a strong emphasis on transparency.
The date for these discussions between President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and political actors has not yet been set. It will take place in the coming days, according to the head of state, who called for unity and fraternity in his speech.
Christopher, a teacher, reporting there. At the same time, the governments of Mauritania and Senegal have officially announced the opening of the first gas well of the Grand Tortue Amayim project located at the border between the two countries. This milestone marks the beginning of the gas commercialization process for Dakar and Nouakchott. Etisu tells us more.
This is a great step in the realization of the Grand Tortue Amayim project. In a joint statement, the Ministries of Energy and Petroleum of Mauritania and Senegal successfully announced the official opening of the first well of this gas project. This new phase paves the way for the start of gas commercialization expected in the coming days, according to the document. Located at the border between Mauritania and Senegal, the GTA project is one of the largest deep-water gas discoveries on the continent, developed by British BP with American Cosmos Energy in collaboration with the Mauritanian Hydrocarbons Company and the Senegalese Petroleum Company. The project is expected to extract approximately 2.5 million tons of liquefied gas per year. Currently, operations are in the testing phase before the official start of production. The beginnings of exploration has faced several delays, notably due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which extended the construction period of the floating production and storage unit.
It voiced that report fight Bassani Mumunin Seibu. In the Gambia, President Adama Barrow has instructed the Minister of Agriculture and Finance to address the digital payment of farmers as the trade season kicked off on Monday. And this comes as farmers raised concerns about delayed payments using the digital system. WADR's Sankule Janko tells us more.
In the wake of the worrying concerns from Gambian farmers over the deployment of digital payment platforms for the current groundnut trade season, President Adama Barrow has instructed the Minister of Agriculture and Finance to convene a meeting with farmers' representatives and stakeholders to immediately address the situation. During a meeting at the Agriculture Ministry's office in Banjul, the Vice President of the Gambia Farmers Association, Alhaji Cisse, blamed the inadequate sensitization on the new Q-Money digital payment platform among farmers. He argued insufficient payout agents across the country and limited availability of cash at the trading centers as major problems. Responding to the farmers' queries during the meeting, the Agriculture Minister Dr. Demba Sabali told Q Group that the digital platform is to increase payment services across the 95 payment stations nationwide. The Agriculture Minister also asked for similar services for the 39 districts in the country to ease monetary transactions for farmers. Mohamed Jah, Chairman and CEO of Q Group, promised to intensify the Q Money sensitization campaign across the country, deploy more agents and synchronize cash payments to the payment centers. The 2024 groundnut trade season began in earnest on Monday, 2nd December 2024, and is scheduled to end on 2nd March 2025 across the country. The adoption of the new payment system is promised on the Gambia government's overall national digital transformation strategy and the resolve to prevent leakages in the transaction value chain. This is particularly true considering that the Gambia government lost over $100 million, or its equivalent of $1.4 million in the previous trade season due to missing cash. The Q-Money option aims to circumvent any further recurrence of this financial malpractice to the detriment of hard-working farmers. For Newslink in West Africa, the Macross Radio, I'm Saikule Jenkin reporting from Banjul.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa, the Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of the top stories. The trial of Guinean opposition Ali Yuba continues as reactions trail an extension of the military transitional period to 2025. In Senegal, President Diomaye Faye's call to rationalize the existence of political parties sparks reaction from political and civil society actors. Togolese opposition frowned at the adoption of the draft constitution by President Gnassingbé's government. Still ahead in the news, over 100 shops at Ghana's biggest second-hand clothing market destroyed by fire. We also have the guest interview and the sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Many thanks for staying with us. That's a reminder, we are streaming live on YouTube at WADR News and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Let's now take you to Ghana, where over 100 shops at Ghana's largest second-hand clothing market have been destroyed by fire, leaving men and traders devastated. The blaze, which started in the early hours of Thursday, January 2, 2025, caused damage estimated at millions of Ghanaian cedis. Authorities have launched an investigation into the cause of the fire. Meanwhile, officials from the Ghana National Fire Service have renewed calls for stricter safety measures in markets to prevent such incidents in the future. WADR's Nadiditita reports.
The blaze, which started around 1 a.m. on January 2, 2025, spread rapidly, destroying nearly the entire market. Desperate traders made frantic attempts to salvage their goods, but were overwhelmed as the fire engulfed rows of shops, reducing them to ashes. Some of them have been recounting their losses.
As a matter of fact, I was home when I received the call, around 11 thereabouts, and then I got here by 12:05. But when we got here, the fire was really destroying things, so we had no other option than to call the fire service.
More than 10 machines has been burnt inside. More than 10, knitting, double, overlock, embroidery, series of them like that. Majority of us, we were not in the market, so we only heard call. By the time we come, in fact, everywhere has been blocked up, flames, fire.
The Ghana National Fire Service deployed 13 fire tenders from across the Greater Accra region to combat the inferno. Despite their efforts, the sheer scale of intensity of the fire presented significant challenges. Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, ADO1, Alex Kingnati, stressed the need for better logistics to tackle such emergencies.
This is much more large scale and it's much more troubling. We are still investigating to know how come this one got to that level and became a very worrisome situation. And the fact that we don't have enough fire tenders to be able to tackle fire issues becomes a problem, because with today's fire, for instance, we have to marshal almost all the fire tenders in Accra to be able to go and fight this fire.
Some of the traders say they suspect arson as the Ghana National Fire Service launches an investigation into the incident.
We don't want to confirm or rule it out. It's a possibility, but then again, we don't want to be comfortable with that assertion. So we are looking at it. It might be electrical faults, it might be indiscriminate burning, it might be improper disposal of cigarette butts. It could be anything.
For many traders, the fire presents not just the loss of goods, but also the collapse of their livelihoods. Kantamanto Market, a cornerstone of Ghana's informal economy, serves thousands of vendors and customers daily. Victims are now calling on the government and other stakeholders for swift assistance to recover from the disaster. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
Meanwhile, in Liberia, citizens who are currently traveling to the southeast of the country may have to look for alternative routes due to the collapse of the Sesto River RTA Bridge. Grace Joshua in Monrovia has the details.
The Sesto River RTA Bridge, which is considered a major route to the southeast, has collapsed, with no casualties reported from the scary scene. The collapse of the bridge came barely a month after it had undergone extensive repair by the Ministry of Public Works. A press release from the Ministry of Public Works referencing the unfortunate development that could have led to the loss of many lives noted that the ministry is deeply troubled by the unexpected accident due to the passage of a low bed carrying an excavator. Preliminary assessment shows that a low bed and excavator weighed more than 50 tons, a weight That is twice the 25 tons limit of the bridge. Meanwhile, citizens has expressed disappointment over the lack of infrastructure development as the primary reasons for the collapse of the Seso River Bridge. They also lament about how the bridge is a major connection to other counties. The citizens has therefore called on the Ministry of Public Works to ensure the safety and durability of infrastructures.
Well, it's very much disheartening. This is a major road connecting or Sino. This is not the first time of such. But what is very frustrating right now is the government announced that only 15 tons should pass on this bridge. There are engineers that build this place, and they know there are people who are knowledgeable to that discipline, and they came up with that advisor. Only 15 tons should pass here. So if you look at it, if more than 15 tons, you'll be discussing 50 to 60 tons.
Assistance. Further investigation are on the way to determine the circumstances surrounding this accident, with appropriate action to be taken to prevent a reoccurrence. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
Thanks to Grace Joshua for that report. Our guest segment tonight takes us to Guinea, where the transitional president, General Mamadi Doumbouya, announced an extension of the transitional period, which was scheduled to end by December 31, 2024. This shift in the calendar has divided the Guinean political class. Our guest is Dr. Faya Milimono, the leader of the Liberal bloc, speaking to WADR, reiterated the need for an effective dialogue to ensure smooth transition to civilian rule.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is a guest.
It is hard to believe in what the junta is saying now, because after listening to the president of the junta, the speech has reminded us the same thing that he has said in 2023. If you remember, in 2023, he was also in his speech the promise to make the referendum to adopt the new constitution. As we speak, we are still at the step of a first draft. It is not even the project yet of the new constitution. It's the first draft we are still debating on. So it is hard to believe in what has been said.
That means that you do not have confidence that even at the end of 2025 or even in the course of 2025, there could be a transition to civilian rule.
I don't believe in that. As I say, I am in Guinea, and my political party has made a proposal before the end of 2024, calling the junta, the government, and all political and civil society actors to have an inclusive dialogue to decide about the outcome, about the next step of what is going on in Guinea. For us, as long as that dialogue is not made, as long as the new government, the government of unity and mission is not put in place with an agenda, I won't believe that it is going to be the end at the end of 2025.
Since September 2021, the military junta took over. What is the socio-economic improvement in the life of an ordinary Guinean like at the moment?
There is no improvement. We are in crisis. The economic situation is very, very bad. You just need to come to Guinea and ask a question to Guineans living the day-to-day situation. You will hear from the majority of Guineans that they hardly can eat today.
We know January 6th, the opposition are bent on embarking on a demonstration, in as much as the transition team is saying that they would ensure a referendum to ensure constitutional rule and then civil rule. The opposition is still bent on embarking on a demonstration. Is that happening?
They are political actors calling their members for street demonstrations. As for my political party, we are still at the level of calling for a dialogue. We know when it is about demonstrations on the streets in our country, we know what we have gotten from it in the past. We have lost a lot of lives. That doesn't mean we are not going to exercise our rights to demonstrate on the street. But for now, we are given a chance to a dialogue to solve problems.
What do you expect to hear at the dialogue, and when soon do you expect this dialogue to really begin? As you said, it has not really commenced, though it was promised in previous years.
We should be in dialogue right now because the situation is critical enough for everybody to understand that if we are not around the table to solve, the situation can get worse. So now is time. And what I could say is, when we get together, no issue is going to be put aside. We're going to talk about everything. How long we're going to be in that transition. And for my political party, we need no more than 12 months to achieve. But the 12 months, we have subjected one of the constitution, the 2010 constitution, can be restored. And based on that, we can go to election and organize the local, the legislative, and the presidential election by December 2025.
Dr. Faya Milimolo is a leader of the Liberal Bloc of Guinea. And here is Sankule Janko with the latest in the world of sports.
Hello out there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. Senegal are gearing themselves up for what could be a golden year in the history of Senegalese football. The reigning champions secured their place to this year's CAF CHAN set to take place in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania with a resounding 3-0 second leg victory over Liberia in the qualifiers. A place in this year's final sees the West African Giants officially qualified for 5 major CAF competitions for 2025. They include the CAF CHAN, the CAF Under-17, CAF Under-20, CAF WAFCON, as well as CAF Africa Cup of Nations 2025. Senegal have 3 titles to defend in 2025. First on the calendar will be their inaugural CAF CHAN title, won in Algiers 3 years ago. The Under-17 side takes the final between 30 March and 19 April, where they will be looking to retaining their continental title. In Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal will be working towards defending their CAF Under-20 AFCON title when the tournament takes place between 26 April to 25 May this year. Meanwhile, for the national team, the Lionesses of Teranga, on the other hand, will be looking to emulate their male counterparts with their first ever continental title when they compete at the finals set to take place in Morocco between 5 to 26 July 2025. During the period 2022-2025, Senegal established a unique standard in Africa, winning 4 continental titles in 1 year. The Lions of Teranga won their first ever CAF AFCON title in Cameroon, which has been followed by the CAF CHAN triumphs as well as lifting the Under-20 and the Under-17 continental titles. The West African Giants will be hoping to make history this year by securing all available titles in the 2025 calendar year. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Maudo Juf and Sheikh Njai for the technical support. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good evening.
WADR is back on air. On air. And we are live. Broadcasting from Sacré-Cœur. We regret all inconveniences. We apologize for going